Hey lover, welcome back to the Earth and I channel. Hope you are amazing. I just wish you everything that you've ever desired because that's what you're destined to obtain in this life. And may you always remember that it's always on the way. And I just want to kind of pause and things have been crazy recently. I really feel a powerful time of actualization coming online and really having to commit to the way that things are playing out. And that's what I'm doing. And consistency is always key, regardless of how you feel or, the situation that you're in. You have to be consistent. And it's a practice, as everything else. Everything is always a practice. Just don't put extra pressure on yourself. It makes everything harder to do. You're going to have to do things when you don't feel like it, but when you remember your commitments and your whys and your values, it brings ease into the present moment. Today we're going to talk about, this flow is on how we cling and clinging to what we perceive we cannot control. Clinging is crazy and common, yet it's a very powerful lesson. It's a very powerful pause point. When we notice ourselves clinging, having the power and the awareness to ask ourselves why is insane, because for the most part, we just go through life, we cling to things that we think we like, we don't really think much about it. But what the reality is clinging is very unnatural. When we cling, when we're constantly clinging, that is a sign that we need to work through something that is controlling our lives. I found that I tend to cling to things that I perceive I cannot control. And I found this to be true with many people around me as well. It's kind of like we take certain aspects of our lives and we try to put them in a petri dish to figure out why this isn't happening the way that we envisioned, or why it's not what we thought it was. And when you think about it that way, it's nothing but a waste, because we know why we're not destined to be aligned with it, or we need to let it go. And that's what's really hard, and that's explains the clinging, because we don't want to do what we know we need to do. Whether you feel like you're very clingy in general, or there's certain things that you cling to specifically, it's all the same. It's all the same underlying tone. And it comes back to detachment, of course. So much comes to detachment. It's very easy to become attached in this world. But the more that we wake up in consciousness, the more we're able to understand that it's a waste of energy, and that precious energy can instead be used for creation and expansion and actualization. We do live in a world of abundance, but when we move through the human experience, we're working with limited senses, right? So we have to be very conscious of where we're directing that energy to go. We really don't control much in this world as an experiencer. We are riding these waves that are just smoothly out for us. And the more that we try to fight that, that's when we find resistance in life. That's when we're very unhappy with life. It's very easy to just be like, oh, just let it go, but it's not that easy. And I totally feel you on that. Everything would just say, let go, be detached. And what we have to understand about that is it happens in the little moments. It happens when we're the most comfortable, and we have to be willing to welcome discomfort in order to uproot what we know is killing us, what we know is sucking the life out of us. And it just comes down to the willingness of doing it. You can watch yourself toil with this over and over and over again, but your life's not going to change until you truly commit to doing what feels uncomfortable, or changing what you never thought you would change. we can get frustrated too at ourselves, when you know you need to be doing something different and you don't do it. The only way through that is by completely changing your approach. Like, I've picked up the habit of, doom scrolling, and I used to be just completely into that, and I didn't think anything of it, but since I've really been on been conscious of my evolution, it slowly started making its way back into my life because I created a new relationship with social media. Yet it doesn't mean that those old patterns aren't going to show up. Anyway, I had kind of been shaming myself then because that was the last thing I was doing before bed. I would meditate, but then I would pick up my phone again and I would scroll on it, and then I would pass out basically with those last things on my mind were what I saw on my phone. And it turned into punishment. I was getting mad at myself for doing that, yet the habit continued. I had to completely pause and readjust my whole thought process and approach to this. What I had to do is say, I like scrolling on that phone. I like looking at YouTube and, researching crazy things and getting on Instagram. And, I like doing that, period. When I admitted that, gone. The habit was gone because I didn't feel the need to pick up my phone before bed because yes, I like doing that, but my priority is entering into sleep soundly and peacefully and allowing my mind to fully digest and process what happened today. And it doesn't sound logical. That's what I realize. Sometimes the approaches don't sound logical, but when we're talking about soul talk, it's not about logic. It's really about trusting intuitively and moving with love. It's always about moving with love. Our intuition gives us logic after we follow it. After we do the thing and after we listen, that's when the logic comes. And only then, the more that we demand the logic to come before our intuition, there's no point. It doesn't want us to follow it at that point because we're being too analytical. It seems like we already have a plan, so it's going to let you follow that plan. But at the end of the day, the only way to really progress is through intuitive nudges and through listening to a divine power that's greater than your mind, your brain, your friends, or anything like that. And when we have to fight that, when you are at a disagreement with that, it doesn't make you feel comfortable or safe. Inevitably, it leads to clinging to certain patterns, things, people, etc. We can cling to anything in this experience. We're doing that because it's safe and it's predictable. We know what's going to happen with it. That's safe for our mind. It's comforting for our mind because we believe that our logic is saving us. We believe that our logic is doing what's best for us, even if it's a repetitive pattern. And at times we need that safety. We need that comfort, totally. But if you have an innate desire to change your life, that's the complete opposite of what you need. You have to jump in the fire. You have to risk something. You have to be uncomfortable. Many practices can teach us about the importance of discomfort. Yoga, exercise, anything moving your body, dancing, whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be some kind of structured practice either. Just pushing our limits all the time, whether you're reading and you know what, you want to be done reading now, and you kind of guide yourself into reading more. It's a very fine line as well because you don't want to force yourself to do things. There's a difference between forcing and pushing. You know when you can give more, and you know when it's like, I'm just going to chill. Usually when it's like you've reached your max, it's very calm. It's a very mutual agreement among all parts of self. Like, I'm just done. Other times it's just kind of like part of you is giving up and other parts still going. That's when you have to push through because you know that there's more. That's what, hence the topic coming in. This is a wide-ranging conversation. That's when the clinging comes in because we feel safe and capable of doing certain known, whether it's a workout routine, reading an amount of pages, doing so many minutes of meditation, going to the coffee shop at a certain hour. That's a form of clinging too. It's very subtle as well. That's what we have to understand is many times when you unearth your clingings, it's like, wow, I didn't think anything of that, but it's withholding you from expanding and growing. And sometimes it's very obvious, but the more that you wake up in consciousness, the more subtle it becomes because you're paying attention to a lot more realms and frequencies. And it gives you more space to observe as well. Control is crazy. And when we really decide to give up that control, the only way to do so is to have something beyond you that you trust in. Because that's what's controlling this. That's what's calling the shots. That's what's making this all happen. We're just kind of adjusting the directions. We're just kind of adjusting the sail, but the wind is coming from the divine. Reinstating that, prioritizing that, bringing love to that is a daily practice. And it's just a little thing that little ways that we can all do it for ourselves. But the more that I remember that, the easier life gets. Very hard sometimes. As above, so below, babe. Though I can let go because I beat myself up about decisions I'm being guided to make when at the end of the day, I'm not controlling this. I'm following. I really am following. We're all leaders and we're all followers. Though we should never be following something that is not the beyond. It should always be a follower of the beyond first, of God, of the universe. Whatever term you use, whatever you feel safe with, always be a follower of that first. And then whatever else comes will come. And as I wrap this up, pay attention to where you feel like you lack the most control and ask yourself if you cling to that in some way. Where do you feel like your life is the most out of control? Where do you feel like you have the need to control the most? It's a great way to journal. It's a great way to release energy and redirect energy. Because when you can admit, when you can accept that you're overexerting yourself in this way, you're spending too much brain power in this way, it clears. It clears moment after moment after moment. You can revisit it as many times you would like and ask yourself why. Why? Sometimes you cling to relationships. Why? Because I always witnessed horrible relationships. Or let me think of an example from me. If I were to ask myself that question, where do I cling to the most? The first thing that just came up was my job, my career. I very much cling to what my job is going to be, what my career is going to be, and because I feel like that defines my life. And the more that I try to cling, I try to search for jobs. I try to, write out how I want the earth and I to look. I try to do all these things in an intention that comes back to control. It's draining. It's miserable. It doesn't get me anywhere. Yet I continue to do it at times. The more that I awaken to that and just for me to share that vulnerably and open with myself, that empowers me to go deeper and to understand it more. That's how we really uproot these karmic cycles or these detrimental patterns, is by opening up, being vulnerable with ourselves so that we can understand the why. We have to understand that why. So sit with yourself today and see what comes up about clinging or control. And also, I want to ask, how can you trust more in the divine? How can the divine nurture you more today? The more that you feel nurtured and safe with the universal flow, the more of an easeful life we live. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. We can support each other in that. We can grow with each other in that. Yet our relationship is unique. The way that we feel it, the way that we connect with it, it's all unique. So may you take time today to reaffirm that. That's what I'm going to do after this. And again, I want to thank you for clicking on the video. It's really been an interesting kind of journey recently. I feel like big changes are coming. And I'm just on here as authentic as I can be, yet I feel like I need to be a little more structured in a way. So I'm just kind of navigating that journey, but anyway, I'm very grateful to have you here, to connect with you, and to allow the light in me to see the light in you, and for that to co-create in higher vibrations, higher frequencies. Even though we're not face to face, the energy is still at work. And I just reaffirm that you are on the path. The path is calling you, and may you answer every single time. If you're interested in a personalized story from me, check out the website. Love doing those. They're just magical. And connect on Instagram. I would love to hear the comments from you and how you're feeling. Happy eclipse season, by the way. There's a lot of eclipse energy happening, specifically around relationships. So if you're interested in that, make sure you dive in, because there's some big energy coming online that can really assist us on this journey. And yeah, with that being said, my loves, I will see you on the next one. Stay tuned, stay true, stay you.